You're live.
All right. So, if you were to read the description, I'm doing this live stream because I'm in the process of trying to make a video on how to make cannabis oil. Well, I'm actually making a video step by step of how to. My son's helping. So I figured this part I would just live stream and talk about as I. Well, I'll show the clips on the that I took earlier as I talk, but I'm gonna get the audio to put a video together. This way I can talk about other pieces that I don't want in a simple how-to video because it'd make it too long. So that's all this is, kind of a behind-the-scenes type of thing for the how-to video, how to make cannabis oil. Uh, in my opinion, one of the best things I have ever learned to do or make for myself, for my health, for medicine, natural medicine. So that's what this is going to go into, is just showing how to make it, because it very well could change the world if folk got healthy, really. So anyway, I'm going to turn this toward the TV. Okay. You can start that if you, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we're making cannabis coconut oil. This will show me taking 1 ounce of cannabis. What strain doesn't matter, whether it's sativa, indica, most strains are a combination of the two to some percentage or another. But you take the bud or the flower of the cannabis plant. That's what you want. The more trichomes, the better. The better the plant, the better. The trichomes, those little glistening little balls that you see that form on the plant, they kind of capture the light. There'll be a whitish color. Sometimes there'll be a yellow, amber color, depending on the plant. That contains most of the medicine. So when you're looking at the material you're using, make sure you have good material. And if you grow it, that's the best way. It's a plant. It's free. We should all be able to grow it, consume it, make medicine from it, build things with it, use it as the natural fuel source that it is. Fuel for all kinds of things, really, and fuel for health, fuel for the body and the mind. This shows the baking. Okay. To give it the THC component, to turn it from a CBD type of thing into THC, the molecules in the plant have to change, and that comes with heat. That's why when folks smoke this cannabis, they apply heat to it, they inhale, the smoke gives a high because that adds the THC, gives the psychoactive component. Without the heat, were you to make this without this heating step, you can make your own CBD oil that does not have the psychoactive component or the feeling of being high, so to speak. The graph on the screen is something I found that I used as a really good baseline that shows it shows the transition of the plant itself when heat is applied, when it's baking. It shows the THC formation, like those molecules forming due to the heat applied for a certain amount of time. The thing with this is, too low of heat, you won't convert it into THC and get the psychoactive component. Too much heat, you burn the cannabis. You can ruin your material. Kind of a general rule I follow is kind of 240 degrees for 40 minutes and 250 degrees for about 30 minutes. And then I kind of play with that here and there, and I kind of adjust. I've gone all the way up to the 270 to 275 degrees for 7 minutes, made it like that. and also the longer, like 40-minute way. And I like to do it a little bit longer, slower cook. It lets me monitor it real well, especially with the gas oven. Having to adjust the temperature up and down, sometimes that's required. Gas oven, electric oven. That's why an internal temperature reader is really handy for this. What else with the cooking? Without the box, without the decarb box of the magic butter, and this isn't a promotional video for any type of product or company, but I do like the magic butter machine. It makes the oil, its production, a lot more efficient. Um, Without that box, you can use a baking pan, baking sheet, aluminum foil. But you want to make sure you cover it. You want it enclosed while it's cooking. Um, the number one reason is to lock in all those changing molecules within, because when you pull it out, you're going to want to put it right into a freezer, or, if it happens to be wintertime, set it outside in the snow. But you want to go right from the heating cooking stage right to a fast cooling stage to lock in all those molecules that are floating around there after you cook it. So another less important uh, effect of having your material covered is that it doesn't smell up your whole house, ridiculously with the smell of cooked cannabis, which I enjoy the smell, some don't. One thing I could suggest with the baking, when I first started, the very first time I made it, I didn't know about keeping it enclosed and this, and I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know to add lectin to it, for example, which I'll talk about. Um, so I cooked it uncovered, but I watched it the whole time, and I watched how the buds changed during the cooking time. And it turned out like I'm glad I did that, because now when it's cooking in an enclosed container, in my mind's eye, I have kind of a visual reference to kind of know how the bud inside is changing. Because like I said, you don't want to underdo it, you don't want to overdo it, you especially don't want to overdo it. So might help maybe cook a little and just observe it, watch how it changes before you do a whole big batch, so you can avoid waste. After you do the cooking step, or do not do the cooking step, you want to add the cannabis to your coconut oil, whichever brand or version you'd like to use of it, with that, you want to add lectin. I use sunflower lectin in mine. Uh, the lectin itself increases the bioavailability of the medicine. It makes the medicine much more absorbable by the body. Your own endocannabinoid system that's in there waiting to get some of these natural cannabinoids it needs. But the lectin, by increasing the bioavailability, it increases the potency and the effectiveness of the oil by an order of magnitude. It really does. Like I said, I made it at first without. It did. I felt the effects. I started to get the healing from it. At first, I was quite high when I was using it. I really was. I was also in the midst of a laundry list of health issues, and wasn't going to make it much longer. So I really went at this way of healing, this natural way of healing, pretty hard, because I really didn't have a choice. And as as I got healthier, as my own endocannabinoid system gained tolerance or strength, as it built itself up, I could tell it really does work synergistically with your own immune system, and it triggers all kinds of different healing in the body. The brain is part of the body. In the mind aspect of this, the thoughts and emotions that manifest in mind, and then the feelings that manifest in gut and in heart in the body. This this medicine really, it helped me slow down enough to really consider my own inner workings, so to speak, and be able to correct them. Anyway, that's like some of the sidebar stuff that won't be in the how-to video. That's why I wanted to do it like this. Let me see, what else can I talk about here? The lectin, adding it to this. This is the, let's see, the steeping process. During the steeping process, you can do no heat. I would suggest at least low heat to help the infusion process of the cannabis into the coconut oil. If you don't want any chance of activation, just look at that chart again, reference that chart, just keep way low temperatures, and it should be all right. Another way to steep it without the magic butter machine, which does the grinding for you, it'll keep a steady constant temperature for you as well. It grinds all throughout the process. Without that, you can do it in a crock pot. In a mason jar is how I started. So you put the oil in the mason jar, put the material, the cannabis, cooked or not, into the oil in the mason jar, add the lectin, and then you use something to grind it during its steeping process in the crock pot. The crock pot can sit on high, keep it full of water, add water to it during the steeping process as the water will want to boil over time. Or not boil, but evaporate. So, and then constant grinding throughout. That's how I started before I got the machine to do it for me. When this whole process is complete, the material you have left over, that material is not trash. It's still full of medicine. It is medicine. So that material you can take. If you've done it in a magic butter machine, it'll be a paste. Literally, the stems, everything, it all turns into a green paste. If you're doing it by hand grinding, well, then it's not going to be quite so pasted. But you can take that material, you strain out your oil into whatever you want to pour from. Where was I going? Yeah, that material. You save the material and make sure you save a little bit of the oil, in that material, because you don't want to let it dry out necessarily. It should stay pretty damp and moist, but that material you can add to baked goods. You can add to, for instance, something I like is like almond milk yogurt with some granola. So a little tiny bit of that paste can be mixed right into something like that and eaten, consumed, because that is the most important way, in my humble opinion, to get all the benefits that this plant can provide, is to consume it in this way. Smoking, I do smoke it as well. However, smoking it, the way, and it's pushed on purpose for folk to think that's the only way to use it, is to smoke it, because smoking it and getting that high feeling to the head a little bit, and that little, that little stress relief, that can become a crutch. And it's pushed for folk to use it as a crutch, this plant, instead of using it for its medicinal value to its full effect by consuming it in a manner such as this. Yep. So let's see. What else can I talk about here with this? Let's see. Oh, the paste as well. Okay. Something else that can be done with the paste or the oil itself. This isn't just for consumption internally. You can use this externally, topically, as in you can make balms, salves. You can use the oil itself, rub it right into skin, say cuts, scrapes, bruises, pulled muscles. Just massage it right into the skin. It will absorb in the skin. If it is, or through the skin, and it will put its healing magic right into those cells. Let me tell you, I've had my own cuts, scrapes, pulled muscles, things like that heal in days what I know what would have taken weeks for me 3 years ago. Not joking. So burns as well. Any kind of pain or anything you're going through, this stuff just, I'm convinced, slap some on there. But like I said, do your own research. And then with the oil, I pour a little bit throughout the day in my coffee. You can add, of course, a little drizzle on salad. Add it to pasta dish, however you want to consume it. A few drips around the tongue. The big reason for this, to put this out, the profound healing effects I've gotten from this, and when I see how it's marketed and sold, I want to put this out so others can make it themselves. Because consider, with what I showed, the batch that is that's really brewing right now. You can hear the magic butter machine maybe in the background when this goes up, or even right now. The grinder kicks on here and there. The cost for the price of about, I want to say $25 to $30, let's call it, for the coconut oil and the lectin, which that one bottle of lectin will last for many, many, many batches. It'll last. So say $25 to $30 is going to make, for me, this batch, 35 ounces of infused THC cannabis medicinal oil. 35 ounces. Compare that to the size bottles being sold and being marketed, and consider that. When you make it for yourself, you can make it almost free. Were you to be able to grow all of it yourself, make it all yourself, it would be 100% free. Also, please consider this. In the last 3 years, I have not been to a doctor. I had such a list of health issues, physical and mental. I was on all kinds of different medications that they would tell me that I would be on for the rest of my life. Medications that were doing the exact opposite of what I needed to be done. I healed from a lot, more than I can say, it would take me hours. And to me, this is one of the most important things I could ever share, because this could indeed change the world, because it can help. It can help anyone heal and change within themselves if they can realize that, yeah, there are indeed problems. They might have came up the wrong way, learning the wrong things, taught to believe things that weren't true. When you see things aren't quite true the way they were taught, and you go to look for yourself to know the truth for yourself, and then you apply what you've come to know, or what you come to think you know, and you see very real results that's absolutely contradictory to what you were taught. Something especially like this, to me, something life-saving, life-changing for so many out there that are in a lot of pain and are being run through the ringer by the system that's set up right now, the healthcare system. that it's not about health and it's not about care. These are kind of things that I think that need to get out fastest and realize there never should have been anything written down to tell us we couldn't do this ever. So thanks for listening. Hopefully the video that comes out, it should be a nice condensed or good. Well, I said they were a good and condensed little how-to, I hope. And hopefully this live stream might maybe fill in any little, it just add something to it. I'll leave the link to this and whatever comes out. So thanks for listening. Well, hold on. That cover everything pretty much, sort of, kind of?
I couldn't think of anything that you didn't hit.
Okay. One more thing. My wife uses this as well. Of course, healing from a lifetime of damage. Also, well, you know what I mean? So, she has also experienced from having a degenerative disc disease for years. We also have a wheelchair in the house, and she's supposed to be in that wheelchair by now. She should have been, according to the doctors years ago. After a whole bunch of those horrible treatments she went through, she has now actually gained height in discs in her back. They have gained, which is something else that a lot of times is said to be impossible. So the regeneration of discs in the spine, neurogenesis, the regeneration of brain cells, along with the regeneration of just whatever other cells you got inside. I'm convinced it can do it. It can do it all. If you make it right, you get right, you kind of live right. You really get to appreciate it for what it is and don't use it as a crutch. Change the lifestyle along with it. Consume good, clean, healthy, natural, vegetable type sustenance. And to me, that seems like some of the keys. You know, along with natural law, non-aggression principle, volunteerism, and the self-defense principle, which goes right along with non-aggression. So